London may look the way it did before 7/7 last year, but just as the clouds are looming overhead, threatening to rain, the clouds of terrorism are looming overhead, threatening to disrupt our lives. In fact, if you're honest with yourself, you'll admit that in your heart of hearts that a lot has changed. Things are a bit heavier than they were before last year. In fact, we're making more mistakes, we're feeling sad, we're feeling irritated, we're feeling tired. We need to admit that these things have changed not only for ourselves, but also for our children and our teenagers. Let me tell you how you can talk to your son about terrorism. One of the things that I suggest is to explain to him, just like the bully in the playground is unhappy, wants what the other kids have, wants to terrorize the other kids because he's jealous, because he's unhappy with himself, that will help the children to understand. You also want to tell your child how much you love him and how much you're going to try to protect him. The hardest part of coping with terrorism is listening to the messages that we're getting from our leaders. President George Bush said we should fly the friendly skies and go to Disney World. Prime Minister Tony Blair told us that his countrymen are not going to be terrorized by terror. In fact, what this does is make us feel as though we're being unpatriotic if we admit feelings of terror or fright or helplessness or frustration or anger or betrayal or the myriad other feelings that we have in response to terrorism.
Well, my name is Dr. Carol Lieberman, and I'm a psychiatrist, actually from the States. What do you think the impact was of 7/7 on you last year?
I think the major impact was that we were all shocked that the people who actually did it were basically English people.
You felt betrayed.
Yeah,
and what really hurt was when that man made the video, the one who actually planted the bombs, and said you people and you people and you people, as though he was talking about a totally different country, a different place.
The crucial thing to remember is that the biggest weapon that the terrorists have is instilling fear in us. And in fact, the answer to that is not to deny that we're feeling afraid, not to feel ashamed of that or to feel that it's unpatriotic to admit it, but rather to cope with these feelings. We need to prepare by fortifying our psychological and physical resources so that we'll be able to outlast terrorism and hopefully find peace. So whatever happens, even though terrorist attacks may affect a relatively small portion of the population, at least at this point, the fear of terrorism affects us all.